also have a lot of people remixing your own music as well.
Yes, but I love that. That's like, I have a deep love for people taking art and reinterpreting it. I think that's delightful, because especially because it doesn't kind of infringe on that dangerous territory of plagiarism. And there's a sense of collaboration, but also a sense of one person taking your thing and then running with it and leading a new vision. And remixing offers that kind of a space without all those potential kind of troublesome. It's a bit of a fuss-free zone in terms of the fact that everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody tends
to... Right. It's very clear. This is a remix. This isn't the original production. This is a remix. And that's cool.
Lots of transparency.
And it's supposed to be different.
Yes, exactly. So I love that. And I'm a big fan of transparency in general. And it's a big part of how I run my business. And
awesome.
And that's actually been quite amazing, because it's meant that people who appreciate that are the people who gravitated towards me as someone who is a producer or a remixer or a mix engineer. So they're not just looking for high quality mixes or remixes or tracks. They're looking to work with someone who's trying to do their business culture a bit differently, and makes it and articulates as much, and isn't afraid to articulate as much, and makes it a priority. From the first meeting I have with potential clients, I'm like, this is how I run my business. If you're cool with that, let's keep talking. If you find it a bit scary, that's okay. Here's a handout. Go away and have a think about it. And that's been very effective.
Yeah. I was literally just talking, I don't even remember which interview it was. I literally just had a conversation where the person basically said, being a producer means you have to be totally, upfront and say everything right away and be blunt. And that's the job,
Well, it's funny you should say that, because
in a sense,
not everybody does. Most, I'd say most, actually. I don't know many people that operate the way I do. I've encouraged more people to operate this way. Actually, you just reminded me. I promise this producer I know. We were talking about this on Instagram, and he seems lovely. He's worked with some friends of mine, and he was like, "Can I see your packages menu?" And I was like, "Yeah." Because we were talking about different ways that we conduct our business. So that reminds me, I need to email that to him before I go home today. So I started. So all the dialogue I was having with whoever I was working with has been very transparent. And in particular, there was a package that I created for unsigned artists with regards to remixes, which is called the Unsigned Remix Special. And through that, I've been able to start talking with artists about what it looks like for them to put a budget together for their release. So it's like an access point, because basically artists don't really think about they don't know how much making records costs. They don't know. At least, maybe 10% of the artists that I speak with have a real understanding about how to budget to make a record. I didn't have a clue when I started.
Right. Nobody teaches you this in school,
no,
right?
No, not even.
Same way they don't teach you taxes, right?
Right, exactly. Even music business courses don't teach this, which is bonkers, really. So basically, I'm teaching artists how to pay me. And it's working, because some of them have then gone on to do more stuff with me, and they are learning how to put a budget together through contact with me, and then they hire me to do other stuff. And
that's awesome.
It is awesome. It's awesome because it's starting to work.
I want to get into the details of that. Actually, I'm curious as to what your packages are and how you kind of educate artists.
Wouldn't you like to know? Yeah. So
if you're willing to share, no pressure.
I can share some stuff for sure. Basically, the start of this actually started with 2% Rising, which we'll talk more about later, I guess. But
totally,
one of the things that we offer, it's a closed network, but one of the things that we've offered up until recently is skill shares. So we resource people from within the community to share on a Zoom call, members only, on a particular topic or skill that they feel would benefit the community at large, or that they see that people need and they don't know how to access. And so I did one of those sessions on financial confidence, and I gave the members a budget breakdown, which was loosely based on how I break down my budgets from month to month. and particularly with a view to separating personal from business finances. So because especially in the arts, that's not fair. It's not fair. There's people who don't know how to manage money everywhere. I can't just say it's in the arts. But in terms of the people that I've met in music industry, generally when they're early career, even sometimes mid to late career, they delegate their finances out to people and they don't actually know how their own finances work. And that is dangerous because that's how you get cheated out of your money and your percentages sometimes. And that's how fraud happens. And things like that.
You have to do the hard work.
You have to understand the contracts you're signing and things like that. It's such a big deal. And so many artists I've met over at least a decade have just not wanted to engage with it, but it's absolutely essential. I've actually spent a lot of my time in the past year with Katie telling people, congratulations, you now own a small business. Do you feel like you know what you're doing or do you want some guidance? And that's been very effective. So I put a budget in this session that people could then just download and use as a template. And within that, they can start to cost up the services they need to make their record and understand how, they need to list the different aspects of it. And to be fair, I have been to some seminars on this before through services like PRS, which is the UK's global collections agency, and PPL.
It's like the IRS, but for England.
I'm trying to remember what the American equivalent is. ASCAP.
Oh, ASCAP.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like a PRO.
Yeah. So they collect your royalties globally, and they make sure that you've got all your percentages correct in terms of that kind of thing. And
I'm technically on BMI, but that's neither here nor there.
So by sort of starting to get them thinking in this direction, they can start, especially because we wanted people to dialogue within the community and hire each other from within the community. So to start modeling what it's like to have conversations around money that are safe conversations is key. And to start having starting points for quoting each job. So that was kind of how it started. And one of the clients that I'm now working with to produce a track for their record was in that little seminar I gave, and took those resources away and made a budget, and now she's hired me.
Amazing.
So for me, I have I often, in terms of production and remixing, I split my packages by signed and unsigned. And essentially for unsigned folks, most of them don't have a budget at all. They don't have anything. But basically what I can say, right, if I take nothing at the front end, this is how much I take at the back end. Like I'm taking a gamble and so are you. Like if your record is successful, I'll be taking this much because I've given you this time for free, and I will be claiming that money, that payment for time and skills back later. Almost
like a mortgage.
Yeah. And but without scary interest. So yeah.
Right.
So that's like at one end of the package list. That's like, right, you're not paying anything now, but you're paying this much later. And then it kind of goes on from there, really. Like if you can afford this much per day, I'll be taking a smaller percentage. And if you can afford this much per day, I'll be taking a smaller percentage. And then the baseline for labels is this much per day and this percentage. If they want cheap, and if they want more at the end, then I take less. And it all breaks down that way. And it's the same for the remixes as well. There's probably like maybe for production, I think there's 4 packages. And then for the remixes, I think there's about 6, because with remixes, you've kind of got, for me, I kick out remixes very quickly because they are interpretive. It requires less dialogue with the artist. Like I always do some due diligence. I say, right, I think I've been messing with the stems you sent, and I put them in my Logic and I started making things. And now it sounds like it's moving in this direction. And these are my references. How do you feel about that? Or do you hate it? And so far, been 100% success rate. Everyone's looked at those references and said, that sounds cool. I like what you're talking about. Please continue. And then I make the thing, I send it over and ask them if there's any particular instrument choices or arrangement choices that they particularly dislike. And I give them 1 round of amends only. In terms of, well, that's the unsigned remix special package. Basically, you pay more for more rounds of amends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that works. And then if you want endless amends, then you pay top dollar. If you don't want me to be counting how many rounds of amends you have.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, if you're anything like me, then you're an audio engineer, not a web designer. That's why you should be using EasyFunnels to build your studio's website. Here's why EasyFunnels is better for you than Wix or Squarespace. Number 1, their audio player is lossless, which means your portfolio will be streamed in high-quality WAV format. Number 2, their website templates are built 100% for the audio industry. Number 3, their built-in scheduling tool allows your clients to book things like calls, meetings, studio time, or studio tours, replacing tools like Calendly. Number 4, their built-in e-commerce capabilities let you sell services by the hour, by the song, or with flat rate pricing. You can even sell digital products with auto delivery. Number 5, they have built-in email marketing, which completely replaces the need for tools like MailChimp. This means you can finally start building your email list. And now, special for you Secret Sonics listeners, you can get 50% off your first 3 months of EasyFunnels by going to easyfunnels.io/secretsonics. Go check it out. There's a link in the show notes below. All right, back to the episode. I guess I operate differently than you because I'm a little less hands-on because I don't really do remixes and I'm kind of very much in the room with the artist, right? So it's like, I'm like, maybe I'm just charging the top dollar kind of thing where it's like, cool, you're paying me for the service, but it's your song. Like that's kind of where I'm usually at, but it is an interesting approach and something that maybe it's worth thinking about.
Well, being in the room and producing is completely different.
Right.
Totally different experience.
Right.
Even producing an artist remotely when it's their material and you're producing their song, that is a constant navigation and and at that point you are going to be negotiating day rate versus kind of percentage
project rate.
Yeah, exactly. So they're in a strange kind of way. They look on paper, they look very similar, but realistically they're completely different beasts.
And I think it's smart that you're kind of educating them, the artists you're working with, and you're being really upfront and just like you said, transparent. I think that it sounds like people are digging that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, so far so good. Long may it continue.
Amen. Yeah. It's interesting, but it's also an interesting thing to think about of like if the artist can't just pay your full rate, like how can you, and you want to work with them, like how can you figure out a way that works? Yeah. And like I'm currently working with an artist that they're just paying me over the course of a year. They're paying me like every month. I mean, hopefully I'm going to finish it soon, but they're it's like, okay, we can't afford to pay all this now. We could give you a down payment and pay you over the course of a year. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's kind of cool for me. Like I'm down to do a little bit of work up front and that'll help pay, my end down the road. So there's ways to be creative about it,
And I think a lot of people do that in varying degrees. Like a lot of people will take some money up front and then take the rest and invoice for the rest of the end. And ultimately, I don't think that's a bad thing, especially with not necessarily kind of always remix, but production particularly. Oh, actually, no, for both. Having said that, because I've had some remixes fall through and that's been disappointing. So I'm trying to learn as I go because it's to do with protecting your time as well. And realistically, I mean, I had this experience just this week. I took on an artist who was going to be a pay nothing now, pay later artist. And then they just moved country. And I'd already started work. And I didn't sign up for us to be working on the project remotely. And at first the artist was asking, is this possible? And I said, yeah, it is, because I knew that it would be, because I'd done some of that kind of writing work out during lockdown. But realistically, I'd signed up to work with this particular artist in order for it to be an artist development project, for there to be a sense of, they're not just like paying for my production services. I would also be doing a lot of arrangement. I'd also be talking with them about like giving them a little bit of coaching in terms of how to independently put together a campaign and distribute the record.
Help them find a team and stuff.
Yeah, because they made that clear that they didn't want to wait to get signed by a label, which I think is the way a lot of artists are moving these days. They wanted to start putting stuff out, but they wanted it to be a certain level of quality, which is smart. But then they moved country and I realized, I don't have any contacts over there. So this is going to make life difficult because I can't call on the people I would have called on to work with me with that artist, because they won't want to work with an artist who can't come to meetings,